What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are back with another episode of OMNI X-Men. We're talking issue 159 from the Claremont Omnibus Volume 3, which I have right here in front of me. And really excited for tonight because this was a fun one. So before I get into all that fun stuff and breaking down the issue, let me bring on my co-host here, the one and only John from John's Comics with Kids and a Mouthful of Food. Oh, and Fang's out here.
We're vamping tonight. We got vampires.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be a good one. How you doing?
I'm excited about this issue. And nice little blend of horror and X-Men. Come on.
Yep. Can't beat it. Yeah, we get a lot in this one for sure, and it's a lot of fun. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the other thing I'm excited for is our guest for this evening. This is her first time on the show as a guest. She's been streaming along with us and reading along with us this season, which has been a lot of fun. And so I'm excited to hear her thoughts on this issue. And of course, I'm talking about my good friend Candis. What is up, Candis?
Hey guys.
Welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course. I'm very excited for this issue. And of course, like to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah, heck yeah. Now, I know for people watching right now, you might see this panel and think, oh, are they doing a live Lego build tonight? Well, no, we won't be doing that. I know that our familiar faces normally do that on this channel from time to time. But yes, at some point, we will have to get together another live Lego build.
Yes, definitely.
I have a mountain of stuff on here on the side.
Oh, I bet.
I need to build. And, Christmas is right around the corner. I'm hoping to get more. So, yeah, I need to.
So what you're saying is you haven't stopped buying, but you have stopped building.
Right, exactly. And I just got to find a place for all this stuff now.
Struggle.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into everything, want to remind everybody at home that, one, make sure you're following both of these two here. Candis, I put your information in the description below. Everybody should definitely be reaching out and following you over on Instagram. John as well, make sure you're subbed up to him because we will have our next show over on his channel next Tuesday as we go back and forth as usual. So, and of course, if anyone here is new or you're not familiar with how the show works, we're going to break down the issue 159. And then afterwards, we have some trivia that we are going to ask that's based on a last issue. And if you get the trivia right, then you'll get your name on the board or the list that we have here that we'll be raffling off some really cool artwork and some other mystery boxes and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of good prizes at the end of the season. So stick around for after we break this issue down tonight. Let's say a quick hello to the chat, and then we'll get into it. I see John Ross in the house. He was tailgating early. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Curious what you think of this issue here. The Jackson Roy Kirk, always appreciate the support, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. We got Bobby Delgado Station. Bobby, as always, appreciate you. And we got Pat in the house, Candace's mom. Hello, Pat. Thanks for hanging out with us as well. Let's see. And we got, there he is, my man Chet says, I finally a lovely lady to take pressure off the gruesome too. So thanks. Yeah, Chet. Yeah, I hear you there. Thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate it. All right. Well, we're gonna let's start to dive into some of this, and I'm sure we'll see some more folks along the way.
We like to usually kick off a lot of these shows when we have these awesome guests on with a little chance to get to know these amazing people in our community. We've got an awesome set of people joining us over the course of the year, and we decided this year we wanted to do a little Q&A to get us started. So we got a couple of good mutant-related questions to get to know Candis a little better. And the number one question has to be, who is your favorite mutant?
Ooh, that is definitely hard. Especially since I'm gonna just let everyone know I'm very new to X-Men. So like I've been slowly getting to know all the characters. Definitely, it's probably for now. It's like a toss-up between Dazzler and Kitty Pryde. Dazzler was one that I knew nothing of. Well, we can blame Haley, Shy Comic Girl, for that one because I didn't know about her. And what's so cool about her is because she's from the 80s and the whole disco look and the music and just her whole thing. Like, if I was going to find an X-Men and it was from the 80s, like that's just perfect. But I've been really loving Kitty Pryde too. I've watched or read some of her stuff that's outside of the series, but I've also been like really liking like her introductory stuff that's in this in Omni. So Yeah, those are probably a toss-up between those two for now.
Great picks, and they both were, introduced right around that same time. Their issues basically back to back. That's pretty badass. So,
cool.
Collecting wise, it's all right. It's all Dark Phoenix Saga, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, this is perfect timing, especially like this issue, getting a little bit of Kitty in this as well. So cool to see as we get into it, the relationship between her and Storm, and we'll get into all that. So great answer there.
As far as right now, too, the Kitty Pryde Storm stuff in like the Marauders run that was running right after Hickman finished House of Powers was one of my favorites. And watching Kitty and Storm together in those 20-something issues was fantastic.
Yeah,
I definitely need to read that, because what I've already been seeing, like even within this like last issue and stuff, it's a lot of fun, like their dynamic.
Yeah,
totally.
I want to say a quick hello to Jamie. We got J Hood in the chat. What's going on, J Hood? And speaking of, there she is right there. Haley hanging out with us as well in the chat.
Hey.
Love it, love it.
Nap time's over.
Let's see. James is working on a TIE Interceptor tonight. Interesting.
It's not the typical TIE fighter with the straight wings. There's the ones with the slightly curved wings, if I'm correct.
Always doing the artwork. Love it. My question for you, Candis, is, and I think I've asked you this before on the channel, but I'm going to throw it to you again. If you could have any, well, that's more of any general superpower, but if you could replicate or have any general mutant powers from any one character, any one X-Men character, who or what powers would those be, or who would they be replicating?
Yeah, so definitely thought about this. I think some of the ones that I like are pretty like common between a lot of different mutants. At least from what I was checking, because I wasn't sure about like one specific person, so I was like looking like, okay, let's see. So I mean, definitely like the teleportation, because that would come in handy, or definitely anything like telekinesis. I mean, I've always liked that ability anyway from all the supernatural shows I watch. So yeah, probably one of those. They sound really convenient, so I think that would make my life so much better.
Just for like practical day-to-day use. I am with you 100%.
Yeah, just to like grab something, bring it over across the room.
The convenience is there for sure. I love it. Great answers. Hey, we got Callie Comics in the house. What's going on, Callie? Appreciate you hanging out. Very good. Well, I appreciate you answering some of the questions that we had for you tonight. Always like to kind of open things up like that. So let's get into this issue. I'm going to bring up the cover here, the main cover here, and I got to get your guys' general thoughts on this cover. Really stunning stuff. John, I'm going to pass it to you first. What were your initial thoughts when you first saw this comic, and what do you think of this cover, just in general?
I will say it took me a few times of noticing this cover to really catch everything that's going on here.
Yeah,
it's very easy to think like, oh, who's this weird new villain, and where's Storm? Like, it's very easy to like miss the like fun stuff that's going on this cover. Yeah, but once you notice it, the layers are really cool. And so this cover was a slow burn for me. And I have grown to absolutely love it. Once I realized that's Storm in the background there with the like crazy orange yellow light going on and the fangs, and then she's also like casting a shadow directly behind Colossus there as well. You can see her like headpiece and her hair all epic, and I love it. What a great use of background. Like, the background is the show here, right? The foreground is just a bunch of scared mutants, but like the background is the thing.
Yeah.
So I have grown to absolutely adore this cover, but it took time for me to actually grasp what was going on here.
Yeah. No, I love that. I was the same way with Scotch. Well, Candis, what about you? What were your thoughts on this cover here?
Yeah. So I definitely was kind of feeling the same way. Because the only reason I at least was able to like catch on about it being like a vampire, like teeth in the back, was only because I knew it was going to be a Dracula issue. If I would just pick this up and had no clue, like I think it would take me a while, but I didn't know who it was in the background. I thought maybe it was like a different villain that we've seen already or something like that. But yeah, once now, like after reading it, I was like, oh, okay, I see that it's Storm. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of like fun little details. I also just thought it was funny that, with Kitty changing her costumes all the time, like here's like the most normal look that they have on her, which is pretty funny. And I think I just like the overall vibe of it. Just like the really warm colors, and then just kind of having a little bit of like that negative space to it, like the black and everything.
You can count on Bill Sienkiewicz for some negative space, right? Something off a little bit.
Yeah. So I think it kind of like sums up already, like where it's like a cross of, you get the bright colors of X-Men, but then you get a little bit of darkness too, to kind of, you know, well, the whole thing really foreshadows to what we're going to be reading. But yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I don't know. I think compared to some of the other covers we've seen, like this is definitely one of the ones I like better.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I agree with both of you. I definitely, I mean, I appreciate any time that the cover can represent, obviously, kind of what we're about to get into. I always appreciate that. I love the coloring, the color usage, the bright oranges and yellows to really define her face in the background, I think is really cool. And also, you know, again, with like the thunder kind of vibes as well, or lightning. I never noticed the shadow up until recently, looking at that closely and noticing her hair and you know, her headpiece and everything else. And as you pointed out, Kitty Pryde, the way she was dressed compared to everybody else, she's just kind of in like her street clothes. I don't know. I wonder why they decided to do that for her when she has so many wild outfits. But yeah, that was really interesting. And Callie brings up a good point. The box art. I've been really enjoying the box art over the past, 5-6 issue, basically since we started this season. I've noticed has grown more and more and much more detail in some of the box art. So
so that corner box has changed a bunch this season, and it seems like almost every show we've done, somebody in the chat has mentioned how much they really like this era with the crawler hanging upside down. That corner art has really been a big hit apparently with the fans. I had not appreciated it as much until everybody kept mentioning it. Yeah,
exactly. By the way, was that me or was that John?
That was John.
Okay.
I froze up.
Just a tiny glitch. Yeah. All right. I only question it because I've been questioning my own connection recently. So you guys let me know if I cut out. Just run the show without me. All right, cool. Let's dive into this opening scene here. So we get the team here going to visit Misty Knight, and I love how we see Nightcrawler, just bamfing right in there, the way it's drawn and all the detail. And we get this other girl who's there, who's not Misty Knight, and they're like, "Oh crap! Like, sorry about that." Like, and she's just like, "Who are you people?" Also, one thing to note here: this issue is called Night Screams, which is quite perfect for what we're about to get into. But what are your guys' initial thoughts on this splash page? John, I'll start with you.
I think it's great. I think it's very funny, and it obviously is perfect for where they are as like characters right now. Kitty's jumping through the wall. Nightcrawler is just comfortable enough with Misty that he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna bamf it. She's not gonna care. I like Misty." Yeah. No consideration for maybe Misty just got out of the shower. Maybe Misty's getting dressed. Maybe Misty's relaxing on her couch in her PJs and is not ready for guests. The X-Men consideration factor really low.
Yeah, she could be in the middle of reading a comic book, and I know that would bother me if I was interrupted.
Don't interrupt me.
I agree. Candis, what about you? What are your thoughts on this opening?
Yeah, so honestly, this has been like one of my favorite opening panels where it just like really captivated me. First I just like the little or is the blurb in that one where it says like what it describes what they're doing. But I just thought it was just so iconic seeing the three, they're just busting through the door, and then you see Nightcrawler, popping in, and Kitty Pryde. It's really, I really liked it a lot.
The blurb you're talking about is above the words Night Scream. It says
it? There's a box, right?
Yeah, it says, "Let it never be said that mutant superheroes, the Uncanny X-Men, don't know how to make an entrance. In this case, into the Greenwich Village apartment of their friend, private investigator Misty Knight. Nightcrawler teleports. Kitty Pryde phases through the wall. Wolverine, Storm, and Colossus, however, resort to more traditional methods."
Yeah, I like that too. And then my only thing I didn't like though, the graphic designer in me, it was a little picky about. I love the title Night Scream, but I can't with that. The font choice for Scream.
For Scream, I could see that.
But that's just because my eyes are turned a little different.
I was gonna say, I totally could see that.
That I could do without. But otherwise, I really liked everything. I forgot. You guys might need to refresh my memory. Was Misty Knight in the other prior issues of this Omni or no? Because I don't think I'm familiar with her.
Not
so
this
like when I saw this, I was
omnibus.
like, oh, actually, I don't know who Misty Knight is. So then I realized, oh, it's her roommate, but I don't think I'm familiar with.
So she used to be roommates with Jean Grey at one point.
Okay.
And so we did cover a little bit from her. From
Chet says trivia. Which issue were we last in the apartment of Misty? I think isn't it the one when the Shi'ar was stealing them away, stealing Jean to her death? So would have been 136, 37.
Okay, right around there.
I'm gonna guess 136. Chat. You check me in the chat.
I just remember, I think was it her with Eric the Red, and when he was building the tower at the top, I feel like she was.
I think that was earlier. The first time they fought the Shi'ar.
Yeah, love it. Want to say a quick hello. We had some people hop in here. We got Travis TM Nerdy, Station Trav. We got Alan from Climbing Comics. Hello, Alan. We also have our good friend Tony Old Wolf 65 hanging out with us tonight. Let's see. Did I miss anyone here? Yeah,
Azores.
You're right. Let me scroll down here. There he is. Eric, what's up, man?
And we got Just Rican.
Whoa, we got Rod up in the chat. Just saw him back on his live stream and stuff on his channel. Good to see you, Rod. Appreciate you, man. We also got Damien in the house, Sleepy Reader 666, and there is Brock, the Tag Wars champ. Got to give it to him. He is the champ. Chet says 105, by the way.
Really? It's been that long? I mean, it's probably hasn't been that long since we've seen Misty, but maybe he means specifically her apartment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. Okay. So, so she shows up in just a lot of other territory of Marvel stories in general. Luke Cage, I know, is a big one as well through some of that stuff. I don't know if Misty Knight was in the show or not, but anyways, so pretty used character for sure. And
one of the like broader X family that I think Chris Claremont keeps diving into, whether that's Carol Danvers or whomever, like there's this broader group that are non-mutant characters that keep like showing up, coming in and out of the story, and Misty would be one of those sort of peripheral characters.
Yeah, it's a nice way to keep just the Marvel universe kind of connected still.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's keep going on here. Next up, a ton of great panels here. So I'll run through some of this. Of course, they're like freaking out because they're like, well, this isn't Misty. So, if you're not Misty, who are you? And, should it be, they feel bad. They're just randomly interrupting this person. Storm being, calm about it. And she's like, well, we thought this was our friend's, place, Misty. Sorry if this is not her apartment. Can you direct us, in the right place? And she corrects them, says, no, I'm her roommate. And that's where Kitty realizes, oh, Harmony Young, she recognized her when she first came into the door. And she goes, okay, so it's Harmony Young, who happens to be a top fashion model in New York City. And so immediately everyone's kind of calmed down. And immediately Wolverine's like, all right, I'm scrounging myself a brew. As he's like, if everything's cool, I'm scrounging myself a brew. That. Meanwhile, and you got Nightcrawler on his knee giving her hand a kiss. And then after that, as Storm is wondering, what's going on with her friend and, sorry to interrupt and everything, she says, hey, no problem. She says, it's okay with me. I like having guys around, especially when they're cute. If you're looking down at the bottom right-hand corner. And as she says that, she points over to Colossus and Nightcrawler. Two things. One, I love Nightcrawler's big smile on his face. He's just so innocently like, oh, like calling them cute. And then two, we see the thought bubble of Kitty all jealous saying, what's she talking about? Colossus, he isn't cute. Like, thought this was so funny. Really love this opening scene. Candis, I'll pass this to you. What were your thoughts?
I was going to say first, we got a super chat from Just a Rican in his comics.
Oh, my goodness. Hold on here. I just switched back over. Man, Rod, appreciate you, bro. Not even leaving a comment, but man, I really appreciate that. Let me play a video here because it's been a little while since I've played anything here. Where's this one here? We got to bring up my man more up here. Here it is.
They want to just join that, crowd and be part of that and say, yeah, you Peach Momoko, yeah, Peach Momoko.
that cut never gets old. Rod, I appreciate the super chat, man. Really do. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, kiddos, what were your thoughts here on this opening scene?
Yeah, I thought everything was pretty funny. I think let me check. I had a note on there about it. Yeah. So it was funny seeing the whole thing with like Kitty and Colossus, where she's like, "Oh yeah, he's not cute," and then she's all like acting all jealous, and I'm like, "Yeah, girl, okay,
Yeah,
sure." So I thought that was just like funny, and then I think is this in this panel? But yeah, we're basically Storm and Kitty go off to go look at the clothes and everything, and then Wolverine just goes and grabs a beer. I just love that.
So casual.
Yeah,
it's so him,
but
so Logan.
Yeah, I think it was just it's still like keeping up the momentum of even that first panel, and just keep going with already a lot of like funny moments and interactions with everyone. So yeah. I really like that.
I agree. Oh, we got JD in the house, Raging Cajun. What's going on, brother? John, anything to add there with these opening scenes?
I mean, I do think it's funny that Misty Knight, Harmony Young, like they've got like names that are like actual words. Like it's not like, you know, just some pieces of, you know, name, but it's like actual words. They've really gone with like the nouns. These are nouns. Like these are things. So it just makes me laugh. But yeah, no, fun little intro to jump right into something kind of light and silly.
Yeah, agreed. And as we go on to this too, we get a little bit more beer action. This is what you were talking about, Candis, where, you know, so the girls go up. So basically Wolverine reminds Kitty Pryde that she has an evening out with her folks tonight. And that's like the whole reason they came over here initially, to get ready. And so she asked Storm if she'd go with her, but first they have to get something for Storm to wear. So she's going through Harmony Young's closet, helping her pick some clothes out. And then meanwhile, they come downstairs before they walk out, saying goodbye. And of course, I just love where it says eventually a slow 6-pack later. And they come back downstairs and he says, "Worth the wait, kid." And that ain't no lie. So yeah, great little add on there. Again, Wolverine 6 beers in. Now, of course, as they go on a walk, we flash separate scenes here. We flash over to see the Summers family, as we left off from last time. You know, we got a little sprinkle last time where they were cooking and hanging out, and they broke the news to Alex of Corsair, which we've recently learned that Corsair is the father of the two brothers. So we get a little scene with the two brothers outside, just showing off kind of their moves and wondering if they still got it. Because if you think about it, they haven't seen each other in a while. So it is cool to kind of see them, I guess, bro out and have some target practice at the rocks out there. And then meanwhile, they go inside. They get to see Lorna, who's inside hanging out with Corsair and cooking. And they all get together, have this nice kind of family moment at the kitchen table. And then it gets a little more serious where they're asking Corsair, what is his plan next? Where are they going? They are curious, you know, can we go with you out in the outer space? And he's kind of has some reserves to answering that, although we don't really get a full answer as we flash back, as you see on the right, to Harmony and Kurt hanging out there. The phone rings. It's Kitty Pryde. She's checking in to say, hey, you know, when my parents, everything was great. You know, how's Storm? And this is a couple hours later, and they realize Storm never made it home. And then it flashes to that scary panel at the very bottom where Storm is completely knocked out in some alleyway, and we don't really know how she got there or why. So with all that kind of summed up there, John, I'm going to pass it over to you. What were your thoughts? Also, I'll say a quick hello to Albert in the chat. What's going on, Albert?
I mean, so I want to read one little bit, right?
Yeah,
it's like right here next to me when Havoc is talking to his brother, and it reminds me of the movie Airplane. He goes, what do you say to your father when your father shows up after 20 years? That reunion must have been rough for you, Scott. At least when I was adopted, I had surrogate parents to love. You had nothing. It just feels like harsh, right? There's this moment in Airplane when the lady's like so sad about like, I'm gonna die on this plane. I've never been married. And this one lady says, oh, I'm really worried, but at least I have a husband, and walks away. It's like, oh, jeez. Like the shots fired here are straight out of Airplane. It's almost comedic the way he's talking to his brother to me. Like I straight up like had to read it twice.
Yeah.
They gave it its own bubble. You had nothing. Like thanks, bud. What are you rubbing it in for?
Yeah. Hey, thanks.
Harsh.
I love that you bring up Airplane. I'm very excited for that. Hey, we got Guy Forge in the house. What's going on, Guy?
Yes, stewardess. I speak jive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go.
Not the only one.
Brock says, oh, good point. He says there seems to be a lot of culinary arts in the era of X-Men. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that. Candis, what about you? Anything to add there?
Yeah, so yeah, basically the same quote that John read. It was definitely like, yeah, definitely I read to read it twice, and I read it like definitely like, you know, you had nothing, like very dramatically, like but yeah, really harsh. I also liked the panel with Lorna's because I had to look up her abilities because I'm not as familiar with her, and I saw like because I wasn't sure she had like a telekinesis thing, but then I saw it's like she's Polaris, right? So she moves like with the magnet stuff. I was like, I just thought that was cool. It's another like thing that you would just want to use like those kind of powers for. Like, why not?
Totally.
I just always like seeing like in the other issue where they were just was it Storm and Scott were doing like they're playing and doing like playing with lasers and things and training. Like it kind of like seeing that like everyday kind of things like people do with their powers.
Casual. Totally agree.
Yeah, and then so with the whole thing that like Corsair was he's basically already ready to bail. I'm not shocked.
Right.
I mean, if that means he's not in anymore, I mean I'm okay with it. I'm not a fan, but that sucks. Yeah, it sounds very, very typical of him. So I wasn't very surprised by that. But I really like how the last panel, like you can't 100%. Well, I guess you could tell it's Storm, but it's still kind of hard to actually tell. And then you have like this contrast between such these like bright colors, and then it's already starts to get into a creepy tone. So you're like, oh, yeah. If you didn't know what was coming, you'd be like, oh, where is this issue gonna go? So I thought that's just like a fun contrast.
Yeah, it's a good point. The shading and the color, and definitely that vibe, because you're right. Everything's been happy-go-lucky so far, and it definitely takes a turn for the worse here coming up.
And you could, if you were skim reading, I think you could easily be like, "What happened to Lorna?"
Yeah,
because
that's all laughs and family, and
you skim reader could.
You're saying you think it's her?
That's Polaris laying on the ground there. The hair color, that green.
Yeah, it actually does look like
very similar.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I think you've got to be on your toes, but I also to what Candis is saying, like that. Bill Sienkiewicz going outside and falling out of the panel,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I love that style. Her popping out, and that was throughout. There's a couple other scenes here. With hand gestures and stuff outside of the box. This is funny. I gotta highlight this. Guy said, "You guys are talking about Airplane, and I'm currently watching Naked Gun." Oh my god, that's hysterical. Especially because I'm gonna go into this next panel, and you guys are gonna crack up. So we're jumping right from this scene. We jump into the St. Vincent Hospital. A hospital? What is it? Oh, it's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
I quoted Airplane and you used it. I love it.
I had to throw this
in. That's
great. Hospital. Absolutely love it. Yeah. So we flash over to the hospital after we just saw Storm laid out in the in the alleyway, goes right into this scene here. The doctors rush her in. And Wolverine and Colossus there, jumping right into the room there to see what's going on. And it turns out she's okay. Well, she's standing again. And if anything, the nurse or the doctor is a little nervous about, why are you standing right now? You should be resting. And Storm on the right here is insisting that she goes back home. She's staring out the window. She sees what looks to be two eyes, almost like Nightcrawler's eyes in the window there. So she insists to Dr. O'Hara that she wants to go home, and she says, well, suit yourself, we'll get the release forms ready and have you out the door. And that's where we get into some of this stuff here. So Storm is back home, the team is around her trying to take care of her, making sure she's all right. And as she's sleeping, she's having the sweats, she's rolling back and forth, and she's having these like what look to be dreams or nightmares and not able to rest. And then we get this beautiful panel that I had blown up here of Storm, which looks to be, it reminds me of like the DC horror comics from like the 70s, type of vibe there, with her face there head on. And she's up.
You get a Swamp Thing Sandman.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's spot on. Swamp Thing is what I was thinking. Her opening the door or the window, and saying that she says, enter freely and of your own will, as she's talking to whoever it is that's out there. And then, of course, we didn't get into that yet. Before I do that, I want to ask you guys what your thoughts were on some of these panels. Candis, I'm going to start with you. I ran through a couple of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just I already love how it's like starting to get like spookier. That was one thing I was really excited about this issue in general, is like just it being a little different. Being like breaking outside of what we usually see with X-Men, or at least like with this series. So I really, that those panels on the right are like they're just so different from what we've been seeing. Really spooky. I mean, it's definitely reminded me of like other vampire stories I've heard before, where that they think that that they're fine, and then like I know that was too easy. There's no way that she healed that fast, so I already was like knew that something was up for sure.
yeah, good point. John, what about you? What are your thoughts here?
I am a natural Sienkiewicz fan. Like, I just like you're not going to get anything normal. And I first came across him in the Claremont written New Mutants run when he took over about 20 or so issues in. And that's when I first was, it was only later I went back and realized he wrote this one. And I think that it shows right away that this is a nice sort of symbiotic relationship between Claremont's maybe overwriting style, where he just really verbose in that era, and Sienkiewicz's ability to tell a story with the picture. And I think you look at those two panels that you're highlighting on the far side there, and you definitely get that. You have that Bernie Wrightson. I totally feel that. And I will say the previous page, Dr. O'Hara, I think her facelift did not go well. That bottom panel and then the far one, I see why she's so mad. Like, the doctor who did that work did not do justice.
That's so
it's
true.
Like two different people.
I was just happy though that they didn't do my girl Kitty dirty, because they've been giving her so many bad ones.
That's
so it's okay that someone else can take
it's good that it's a side character. We can just move on
that's
to
fine.
like to creepy Dracula. Storm.
It fits the vibe. We're going for
here. I was like, oh damn. When I got to those panels, I was like, what happened? But it's all good. It's all good. We can move past. Sorry.
Yep. No, and that's a great point. And going into the next set of panels here, to Candis, what you were saying with Kitty, they did her justice here compared to what we've been seeing, over the past few issues. I definitely appreciate this artwork way more, going into this. So to pick up, Kitty Pryde comes home. She doesn't know what's going on. She has no idea that Storm didn't even make it home yet. The rest of the team was like figuring all that out, going to the hospital and all that other stuff. So she comes home and immediately walks into the team, who they're all sad, concerned. Wolverine putting his hand on her shoulder and explaining to her exactly what had happened and where and how they found Storm. And of course, she's upset. She's terrified. She's scared and worried for Storm. So she goes running in to go check on her now that she's home, and she opens up the blinds, and the sunlight definitely not for her. She did not like that. She even says that it hurts. Very dark, scary face that Storm has there. No pupils, just very horror like. And then of course they're having kind of this heart
for a character named Storm. Do you expect her to like the sun?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
just a thought.
She should have that out there. She should have full control of sunlight, I think. But yeah, so that was kind of like the first sign, right, of like anything that was a little different of her being bothered by light. And then of course she has this scarf that's on with this letter D that she explains was from her admirer, and that's really all she talks about. And someone that had visited her. And as she's talking with Kitty, Kitty's like, hey, like, you're not all right. Like, can we talk about this? Like, I want to make sure you're okay. And she like immediately tells her to get the heck out. Basically, it says, leave me alone, in a vicious way that I think really caught Kitty off guard. She storms out. And she walks out of the door. Walks through and just tells the family, or tells the team, she has some errands to run here. So definitely some heart to heart here. John, what do you think about some of these panels?
To what we said at the beginning, this is where we see some of that Storm Kitty relationship, and the fact that they don't always need to communicate with each other to fully get it. So Kitty has become a self-reliant person, like to preach the way of Xavier. She's clearly evolved her not only her mutant abilities, but her leadership and independence, right, has come to bear here, where she's not even hesitating. She's like, I think I know what's going on here. I'm going to be proactive and get involved. Now, she does blow it on the team side. Like, Wolverine's right there. He's your guy. I know he's been drinking. I know he's day drinking.
He's 6 beers in at least.
He's day drunk, but you could still go to him and be like, I think we've got a major problem. Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the only flaw in her plan is she doesn't play the team game. She plays a solo game.
Right. Kind of storms out. And I think that's part of, just her still being young and,
totally,
just kind of jumping the gun in that regard. But yeah. Candis, what about you? What are your thoughts here? And like I mentioned with the artwork and everything else with Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, that panel at the bottom is terrifying for sure. I think it also helps that because her hair is that white, it just makes it way more creepier than if they had done anyone else.
That's really great.
So
point.
yeah, that's definitely
and her
creepy.
eyes, right? The white.
Yeah,
eyes.
Exactly. So I think. Especially like I was reading this on like Comixology, so I'm like you're going, it's one panel at a time. I was like, oh man, yeah. And then for me it was kind of funny just seeing like the scarf and being like, I wonder who D could be. So that was just like fun. And I think one thing that overarching thing I liked about this whole issue was seeing the relationship between Kitty and Storm, and basically just of how they're the main two in this story to begin with. And something that I really liked, just seeing them like really shine in this issue. And then because I can't see the but I can't remember if this is when when Kitty goes to Wolverine and he basically just like kind of dismisses her, but then like Nightcrawler, he's got her back. He always seems like they have this really good relationship also that I've been enjoying, where he always like believes her and like really has her back no matter what. Which
that's a little further, but that is
okay. My bad.
No, that's all right. Here actually Wolverine tries to talk to her and she kind of storms off and just says, I have errands to run or whatever.
He says the kid's crying with an exclamation mark. That's his thought. And then she says, where was Aurora injured? And he says, throat wound slashed across the jugular, but not deeply enough to puncture the vein. Why?
Right.
I was waiting for her to say, no, what street was she on? Where was the locate? Not on her body. What are you doing? He went straight to like the jugular.
Go for the violent answer.
Where in the city? You
Brock made a good point. Wouldn't it take more for Wolverine to get drunk with his
only if you're saying that drinking and getting drunk is like damaging him, then he needs to heal from it? That's a really great question.
Some
that I think is fascinating, right? Is it his metabolism? Is it his is it his ability to break down and eat and absorb things that's heating?
I don't know if it's like with She-Hulk, how she can just like drink as She-Hulk, but then when she brings back to Jen, she's already drunk out of her mind.
Right.
That's true. It's a good example. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going here. And of course,
oh my God,
Storm gets the visitor and we get Dracula.
Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen.
I had so much fun. I'll tell you.
This is so good because it's like
so much fun.
I don't know how we were like connected on Airplane Naked Gun Leslie Nielsen comedy here.
Yeah, that one's good.
This all just fit this perfect. Now, I love these scenes here. Gonna read a little piece of this here. Dracula, he says, Aurora, your name means beauty. Through me, Wind Rider, that beauty shall remain unchanged till the end of time. Through me, you shall have the immortality a goddess deserves. Do you wish this? And she says, yes. He says, good. He says, come to me, woman, yield to my dread embrace. Join your blood and life and soul to mine, as with a kiss I make you the bride of the Prince of Darkness, Dracula. And we get that close zoom in panel there of both of their faces, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Might be my favorite panel in this entire
I think so too. Yeah, besides the main first one, definitely this one.
Yeah. And then immediately jumps out Kitty Pryde, who has plans for my gift's not working. Darn it. So she has plans of her own, holding out the cross as
she's gone Van Helsing on us.
Yes,
yeah, that's exactly what I thought of. Yeah,
look at the hat.
The hat, yeah.
She's always changing her dang wardrobe.
I love it though.
She went out.
So
She's like,
funny.
I'm gonna dress the part for this before I interrupt these two. And boom, she's got the hat on. The only thing though is that she holds the cross. You'll notice at first he is scared of the cross. However, afterwards he realizes. He says the very presence of that holy object should be the anathema to me, yet it has absolutely no effect. And he explains that you have to believe in this, as she's holding up the cross. And so that is the reason that essentially it's not working on him.
It's the faith, right? It's the faith of the individual, at least in Marvel's iteration of the vampire Dracula, that is what it is, right? That has power.
Exactly. And then immediately, goes for the jugular for Kitty as he dashes and grabs her by the throat. So not good there. As we see this other part here, but when she does grab him, his hand burns, and that's because she's wearing the Star of David. And that is the faith that she believes in, and that is something that is affecting him. And he immediately lets go. And yes, then out of nowhere, as Kitty Pryde regains, standing up or whatever, she gets smacked in the face, very similar to Batman and Robin here. Storm just coming through, protecting her man, and then flying away with him, basically telling Kitty Pryde, like, forget me, child. He says, and pray that we never meet again. Pretty sad, obviously. For hearing those words coming from Storm, Kitty is she's hurt, she's shocked, probably angry and surprised all together. So, John, what are some thoughts here on some of these panels?
I mean, firstly, that spread page with Dracula revealing himself, so great, right? Yep. The way that Sienkiewicz does, like, that low angle with the window in the background and his hand like outstretched towards us, and the like wind and the smoke all around them, it's almost like her hair and the mist is all kind of one thing.
Yep.
Then you get that close up where you see her smile, very much like she looks when she's like in the rain, which we've seen many times up to now. She has this joy of the nature, right?
Yep.
And she's clearly in that same headspace. Then he does this cool like zoom in. The bottom rectangular panel is a little bit just slightly closer, and it's his mouth and it's her neck, and it's just like a little bit, that little square, that little rectangle, drawing us a little awkwardly, uncomfortably closer to his mouth and her neck. Really cool. Really, really cool.
Agreed.
And then Kitty Pryde found a jacket, found a hat, found a cross.
Yeah,
got busy finding all this stuff. Really cool. It's a great reveal and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Candis,
go ahead.
We got Joel and Kevin from Entropy in the chat.
Saw Joel there. Kevin, good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. And yes, Bobby, Kitty Pryde is Jewish. That's correct. Ivan through such blood. Candis, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah. Can we go back to the previous panel?
Yeah.
So, I guess the first one. Yeah. So, again, definitely one of my favorites. I think just because it gives it like a really nice like reveal of. I mean, again, if you didn't know who Dee was, now you do.
Yeah.
And I also just like her Storm's look in general, just like even with like the curl of the hair and everything. I think I noticed the box, but I didn't really it didn't connect with me until literally now you're saying like, oh yeah, that really does like give it like an extra like emphasis to it.
Because there's like his goatee and his nose don't quite connect because it's just subtly bigger. Like it's just a little bit closer.
Yep.
It's
so it's a really unique way to use a panel. So that was something I haven't really seen before. And then I guess on the next panel, the slide. So I mean, every issue it's always fun to see like, okay, what kind of outfits is Kitty Pryde gonna put on this time? So once I saw that, I was like, oh, here she goes again. And I really liked the whole thing of like behind the cross not being able to work and the Star of David work. Like I've never heard that before.
Yes.
Like I said, I've heard a lot of vampire stories. I've never heard that. Like it's usually like a staple, like everybody uses the cross, the holy water, the garlic, all the same things. So that I thought that was really interesting. Just because I've never heard that before.
Agreed.
And I can't remember if it was earlier or if it's later on when Storm sees she gets like almost kind of not blinded by Kitty's necklace.
That's a little later.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I keep jumping.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm mixing them all up.
Yeah, it's all good.
For me, I'm mixing this issue with the annual that's like the second part of this storyline, like later on, like 10 issues from now. That's the one that I read first as a kid. That's like the second part of this. So I'm always mixing up that, and there's a what if that changes what happens in this story.
Oh, cool.
And I mix up all of that stuff, so I'm totally good.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, that would be like, I thought it was like earlier, because then that would have been a good foreshadowing that was actually gonna like work. Because like once I saw like that whole thing, I was like trying to figure out, why was it burning, and then I realized, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I also feel like, we have to also get a Batman slap in every single issue too. I love that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
so
it fit perfect.
And then that last panel down there, it's quite creepy. It's sad, equally sad, but just like how they make her look kind of almost dead down there with the lighting and everything. So that's, again, like really, it's a really good combination of these like really creepy panels, but still using like brighter colors. So
totally, yeah, because otherwise, I mean, they're essentially in the dark, right? I mean, other than like the moonlight, that you might get, but they're really just
fun.
And my favorite of that style is the very next panel, and I don't want to pimp Justin Slides, but like the use of white, where they just like the white that doesn't explicably fit. It's kind of fun, and he does that a bunch. Really cool. I guess it's not fair to give the credit to Bill. I mean, there's inkers and there's colorists.
Right. True. One thing too, I wanted to add with this, the white box that you had mentioned, John, that reminds me of, and really credit to this, maybe it was inspired by the more recent Gideon Falls stuff. So that vibe, or, I mean, I know you've read that, right? They've had a lot of the different checkers of things highlighted, and yet it was still one art, piece of art. So yeah, interesting stuff there too. All right, so yeah, going to this, you mentioned you get the white light there.
Yeah, because look at how Kitty is laying on the ground, but the ground's not there anymore. The ground is all white underneath her. Even the walls, everything's white. Outside the window is bright white light. This is nighttime, right? This should be all in black, but instead it's all in white, as if like Storm has left like a hurricane of wind just blowing out through to some bright shining object outside. It's a really interesting color choice for that panel.
Well, and this is where Wolverine,
you can see the hurricane, right?
He does talk about like what he describes it as the atmospheric soup surrounding this city. Makes it harder for him to track down Aurora. So there is this fog that is now rolled in. And so I think that's just a great way of how they're kind of representing that, and how quickly and dramatically it's filled the room, through all that. So, and to your point, Candis, from what you had mentioned earlier, this is the moment now where, Peter, the whole team are trying to comfort Kitty and check in with her and see what happened. And she explains that Dracula was here and took her away and, tried to attack her and grabbed her by the throat and all this other crazy stuff. And that Dracula is real and that he was here. And that's where Wolverine doesn't quite believe in what she's saying. Thinks that it's a little bit far-fetched, but, luckily this is where Nightcrawler does explain that he does believe her. And is hearing her out, and also because he has some history of his own. I think he mentions, he said, learned from bitter experiences not to take vampires, especially Dracula, lightly. From the homeland Bavaria, as he mentions. So anyways, so to your point there, that is where that discussion happens. And then a couple hours later, as we get to this other panel, and I had to throw some Mel Brooks in here as well.
Man, we're on a roll with the comedy spoofing.
I love Wolverine pointing at the castle there, and I just think of that scene of werewolf, castle. So he's like, excuse me, why are we talking like that? It's like, sorry, I thought you wanted to talk like that. So I thought that was perfect for this. So we see them going after this castle that they believe is where Dracula is currently at, and trying to, obviously rescue Storm here. And they are successful in that they're correct that that's where they are. But they get met by him right out in the yard. Dracula comes back, they get into the action. This is where they get attacked too by rats and wild dogs.
Before we get too far, my favorite segue here is like it's basically them having to explain something and be like, but we don't want to spend too much time thinking about it. Logan says, let's see. It won't be easy picking Aurora's scent out of this atmospheric soup surrounding the city. That'll tax my tracking abilities to the limit. And then it's like the next page, they've found the house. Like there's no challenge. The very next panel, they have found the very house that Dracula's living. No mistakes.
That was quick.
Nothing. He's gone straight to it.
That's a really good point.
They tried to cheese it out by saying a couple of hours later and a couple of miles uptown.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's that one. Is that one over there?
I got my GPS out.
Yeah,
and,
it was on Google Maps.
I
just love that. It's just like, this is going to be really hard, guys. Hey, there they are.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I love that we get the action scenes here. The team takes on Dracula, and before I pass it to you guys, so we do get some fastball special, which I was so pumped for because like it's been quite some time, I feel like, John, right, since we've seen the fastball special happen, at least between those two.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had an alternative one at one point, but this is like the legit the way it works.
Totally.
Although it's not how it's supposed to work.
Right. So so really cool panels here. Seeing Colossus try to lay hands with Dracula there at the bottom. Dracula clearly stronger than he looks as he throws Colossus into a couple trees there. And then meanwhile, the Wolverine's still having to deal with the dogs. He ends up taking two of his blades there, making like the cross, which I thought was interesting. Although it didn't work, because this is where he points out, you don't believe, so it's not going to affect me. However, right after that is where we get Nightcrawler, who does believe, as we know, and he puts up the stakes, and it immediately kind of kicks in here. Really, really wild stuff. The action scenes that we get in this. Candis, I'll pass it to you. What are your thoughts here on these transitions as they find the castle now?
Yeah, quite a lot going on. So I first of all, it was pretty hilarious. Like where I was reading and saying that basically Colossus like picked up Wolverine and chucked him at Dracula. I thought that was pretty funny. I also just like how Wolverine is fighting wolves. Like I like that there. And then again, it's really interesting seeing how Marvel took on the lore with with the cross kind of thing, and how it works for one person and it might not for the other. So I just thought that was, it's really interesting that they keep continuing to show that throughout. So yeah.
Yep, love it. Joel's talking about the lollygagging. What's all the lollygagging about? It says also called the number 11 at Wolverine's Canadian Sandwich Shop. Yeah, there you go. John, what are your thoughts here as we get into some of the Rumble?
This is a fun Wolverine pre the modernization of his character, because most commonly in current Wolverine stories, he is a person who respects animals enough never to kill them. But we see him here, I think, early in his form as a creation, being just the wild animal. Now, you could argue that these are like demon beasts, and maybe they're not like actual beasts, and he doesn't have the same respect. But there are frequent times, at least when I was reading comics in the late 80s and early 90s, where Wolverine would be the one to respect the bear or the wolf or whatever creature was coming into his space, and be the person who is instead like threatening the trophy hunter or whatever in the story. They even did it in the Wolverine movie, where he's like, there's a injured bear in the wild that the hunters are just shooting for fun, and Wolverine's the one to show up and like threaten the hunters who are using poison arrows or whatever. And it's a rare moment when you see Wolverine unleashed against animals in this fashion. So it's just kind of a cool, like, his evolution as a character.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know that. So yeah, that's really interesting to know.
Yeah,
moving forward.
So as Kurt kind of gets, catches him off guard, and has the stakes up, he just goes firebolts away, and trying to get Kurt until he runs out of energy, basically. So he's bamfing, trying to escape. I had to throw some as we get some of these. We flash over to Kitty Pryde. She sees a coffin. Had to throw in some more Mel Gibson here. Could be worse. Could be raining, right?
Mel Brooks, but yes.
Yeah. The coffin there. She is. So I really like this part too, of seeing what's going on in Kitty's mind right now when she opens this, because she's thinking to herself, she go and she has the rules here, right? She has like what's done. She says you kill a vampire by hammering a stake through its heart and then cutting off its head. She said, if it's Aurora in that box, if she's been changed, can I go through with that? And that's that's, if you really put yourself in her shoes, like, and think about it, you see your best friend there, like, could you do that? Essentially pretty heavy stuff. So luckily she opens it up and it's empty. As you can see there, she even sprinkles a little bit of holy water just to make sure.
And there's several fun like usage of unusually shaped panels going on here, including that one where she's pouring the water that is like a sharp stake, like just slides down.
Yeah.
And then the ones right here next to Justin, have this fun like everything has gone from a more normal grid early in the issue, where it's like, no, everything's happy, everything's fine. We have somewhat normal rectangles and squares, to now we're in combat. Now we're dealing with the supernatural, and everything's a little screwy. It's kind of another subliminal thing that I think Sienkiewicz has always been really great at.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and especially the kind of carving in there, that one panel, good point there. And then as she opens it, figures out no one's in there, she still gets slapped in the face and through the wall, which I love that panel of her halfway through this wall. And it is Storm, and not just any Storm, but Storm's got red eyes. She's got sharp fang teeth now. And Kitty's trying to figure out, she notices all this stuff about her right away and is trying to figure out, she can't be dead yet. She's again talking about kind of the rules of how a vampire works. She talks about that to make this full transformation, it takes 3 days. While that happens, you're technically still alive. So technically that should be Aurora's mind in there. And so I love that she takes this time to try to talk sense into her, talking to her friend through, all this other nonsense of the vampire stuff. She tries to really have a heart-to-heart to remind her who she is. And it gets to the point where she even says, like, I'm not going to fight you. She drops the stake. Says, if you want my life so badly, then take it. I won't try to stop you. And has like this kind of humbling, genuine, side of her that she's showing to, again, win over and wake up her friend, so that she doesn't have to use any sort of violence. Candis, what do you think of some of this stuff here?
Yeah, so this whole scene definitely got me in the feels a little bit. It's just it's really emotional, because like you already how close they are, and just even though like I didn't think Storm was going to be in the coffin, but even then you still have like this relief, like, okay, at least she doesn't have to do anything, like it doesn't have to get to that point or anything.
Exactly.
The one where they reveal Storm as a vampire, I almost wish that was like a bigger panel, because it's so good. Like I really liked it with the reds and everything, so I kind of wish that was a little bit bigger. But I also like that kind of two things at once. Like first, like Kitty is she's having this conversation in her head about just like everything, and you get that kind of emotional thing. But then you're also I guess if someone didn't know anything about vampires, like you would still continue to keep, like, they're kind of explaining that like lore, at least their Marvel vampire lore. So I think that's really good too, just to kind of like mention those things.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, it's a really strong set of panels. Just because like it really shows like their relationship and how hard that would be if like you were in her shoes. So
totally. Bobby here says, I love you guys, but if you turn, I won't hesitate to stake you. Just saying.
And I'm going to say, Bobby, I'm sorry to be the teacher, but if you're going to stake me like that, I like it medium rare.
Yep, I'm with you.
Otherwise, it's AKE. Sorry, everybody. I'm so glad Candis brought up the coloring here, because I think there's some really cool stuff with like the earthy tones that you get that are very comforting from Kitty, the yellow, the purple, the brown. But then anytime you get to a Storm panel, you're getting red, you're getting black, you're getting white, and it's all this kind of like intensity of color. That even the far corner panel there, where it's like a red background, Storm has no skin color, like it's just black, except for her teeth and her eyes, and then her hair and that white dress, and it's just like the intensity of that. And then around Kitty, you have orange and another layer of orange, as if like she's like retreating away and unwilling to use the stake, you get her like silhouette twice over retreating. Really just top tier color work.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Yeah, there's some great panels for sure. And with all this going on, we jump back to the main fighting here with the team still struggling to take out Dracula. Meanwhile, you know, Dracula, he's been trying to hit a lightning bolt to Nightcrawler, who now thinks, you know, I'm just going to bring the fight right back to him. He bamps right in front of him because he knows, like, if he's going to try to shoot me here, he's going to, hit himself essentially. And when he does, all this lightning strikes, the smoke clears, and Storm shows up again at the bottom left-hand corner. Meanwhile, the team is like done. They're all like knocked out. You can see Wolverine laying out there. I think Colossus too on his hands and knees. Not good for the team. And now Dracula is like happy. He's ordering her, slay them. Now that you're here, slay them, take out your team. She says that Dracula is something you will never do. And she flips the script here on Dracula and attacking him, as you can see this awesome panel of her, what she's doing to him as he's screaming there in the background. Cool. Yeah, the wicked colors and everything. And then he quickly turns into a bat to escape, which is like, oh man, like we get to see this other side of him. And they go at it. You could see them, battling it out there at the bottom right-hand corner, bashing into what looks to be this restaurant even in the city. The fight gets pretty wild here.
I'm so glad you guys are so into this issue, because I was like, yes. I love this issue, but like to know that other people are digging it too. Like
man,
it's so fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had to throw in she's a witch there because he's treacherous witch. John, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, we know Storm's referred to as a goddess a lot, but she's often referred to as a witch as well, like the wind witch, the weather witch. Like she's often called these kind of things because I think, historically, women with power, women with abilities, that had this natural inclination to just burn them at the stake. I mean, that's been historically the way. Yeah. So the terms witch and goddess have had an evolution, I think, in history that I think is very interesting in the character of Storm and the way they're using her here. I think the transition of her from demonic to heroic, I love that. It's just so empowering to see her go from this, like, she's like the wind and the hair and the white dress and the grin with the fangs. And then it's like, pow, I'm going to drop a lightning bolt on you. Like, it's just so cool. I love it.
So true. Before I send it to you, Candis, I'm going to jump to this kind of this other part of this motion here. So as they go into this restaurant, and they're fighting, he ends up grabbing this random girl. And as he knows
we've used this Blazing Saddles gift.
Yeah.
So great.
I was like, I think I've seen that before.
It's so good. It's such a great use for, like, they're always grabbing some random hostage.
Yes. Anytime you see a hostage, I am going to have this gift here.
It's so good.
Perfect.
So he grabs this girl, basically threatens and says, hey, drop the weapon, or he goes, drop the weapon, Wind Rider, yield, or I'll rip this cow's throat out. Vicious choice of words that they have here. And he says, let her go, Dracula, nothing shall die because of me. And she, as you can see, drops the stake here. Before I go further, though, I want to pass it back to Candis. What are your thoughts on these fight scenes and where this comes out as, he takes hold of hostage?
Yeah. Can we go back to the other panel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, again, another really strong panel at the one at the bottom with Storm, like, looking all creepy.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I would love to see bigger. I feel like some of them, they need to be a little bit bigger, just because they're so good.
That's why I like digital, because you get to see it blown.
I mean, yes, that's true. I do get to enjoy that. Yeah. But yeah, like looking at it like this. And then I guess, like, I mean, I figured that, like, probably what Kitty was gonna say was gonna, change everything with Storm, but it was kind of interesting seeing, like, it was just a very dramatic turn where you could see I guess that was kind of the point, though, to kind of, like, not let Dracula know that what she was going to do. But yeah, so that was just that was a fun thing. And then yeah, seeing the vampire transition was really cool. I even really like just the color usage in there of just like all the, it's not like even like a black or anything like that. It's like just like a really nice blue that kind of fits like with what we've been seeing. Yep. And then if we want to go, let me see if there was anything else on the other page. Yeah, I mean, not a lot else to add, but yeah, I guess it's like pretty typical of just like grabbing some random person and using him as a hostage. So I guess like, yeah, that made a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think that was pretty much it for those. Yeah. Good ending.
Yeah, for sure. And so now we get into kind of the talking scene here where, because I'm wondering like how is this going to go down? Dracula being who he is and Storm being who she is. And even the discussion, the back and forth, he says that attitude will change once you've joined me as a vampiric consort. He says, I meant what I said. None shall die because of me, Storm says. She stands her ground on this. She says, I will be true to myself, Dracula. I will not shed the blood of innocents, but to save them, I will destroy you, regardless of how long it takes or the price I must pay. I will end your reign of terror. And even with a little bit of back and forth, she still stands her ground. And in doing so, it wins him over. And he drops the girl and says, I knew from the moment I tasted your blood that you were a woman of rare beauty, rare courage, rare strength. Those qualities attracted me to you. Now they have defeated me. He says, when I lived, I was a prince, and you are a handful of women I have met since worthy of being my queen. I offer wonders beyond imagination, Aurora, but I will not. I find I cannot force you to accept them. And yeah, he jumps out the window, as you can see there, and flies off. What are your guys' thoughts here on this kind of ending? How she essentially defeats him and doesn't really have to use violence. Candis, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, that was really surprising. Especially like even just where typically we'll just see these fight scenes and that's how you end it, basically. And even besides these panels, like Storm just has some really great dialogue and just really shows how powerful she is as a woman, and also just with the words that she's using. I mean, clearly it's words are power here, where she didn't actually have to do anything. So I thought that was a surprise to me that actually was how it ended.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yep. Bobby says, not cool, Dracula. Words hurt. John, what about you? What are your thoughts on how Dracula ended up being defeated and really no violence needed to be brought?
I think it would be maybe a lazy comic reader who would feel like this is anticlimactic, because this is like the beauty of strong writing.
Yeah,
you don't need a big punch to the face to end every drama in every comic. This is a great example of people using words to solve big complex problems. I also am a big fan of the OG horror novelists, whether that's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Robert Louis Stevenson's Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or Bram Stoker's Dracula. All of them misunderstood villains, right? Yeah. Dracula driven by grief and love. Same with the Dr. Frankenstein and his poor, innocent, in some ways monster, and Jekyll, obviously, and Hyde, that relationship. So here you have the reality of a writer who understands that Dracula is not just simply a maniacal evil villain, but instead is driven by something more interesting. Right. I'm super excited that Jackson Roy Kirk brought up Dr. Doom and the issues we had earlier, where Storm was like the object of Dr. Doom's affection, and he was trying to woo her and win her over. And now after Dr. Doom, we've got Dr. Acula. If you put that little dot in there, you got Dr. Acula. It's the same idea, right? Same concept, but the idea that these powerful men drawn to her power and she unwilling to relinquish it for the sake of somebody else's domination of her. And I think these are very strong themes, certainly early feminist themes going on here.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well said. I think this is definitely a deeper sense. And I think, like you said, to more of the lazy reader, to kind of skim through this, it doesn't give the issue justice, and you have to really take in everything that's going on. And I can appreciate that, that, like you said, not every issue needs to just end with a big battle scene or a big punch to the face or whatever, that there can be other ways to go about it. So creative, from the writing side for sure. And then as we get to the last page here, seeing everybody, she comes back, the sunlight's out there, that's their cue of like, oh, Kitty's thinking like, she's flying out in the sun, doesn't hurt, she doesn't look like she's in any pain, so it's a good sign. She thinks that the vampiric infection is gone, and that she's cured. So we get a really touching moment. They're back. She's even saying like, oh, you think the guys are gonna laugh at us, or we're bawling our eyes out here, and she's like, no, I don't care what they think. Like, what you had said to me back there, the way that Kitty dropped the stake and just said like, if you feel like you have to kill me, but like she really was having that heart to heart and reminding her who she is and what their relationship was. That's what won Aurora over and woke her up to being the Aurora, the Storm that we know. So just seeing her tears, the appreciation that she had for Kitty, I really love this. This just builds more up on their relationship as a whole, and I love every moment of it. So between seeing that and then the rest of the gang back home, I did take note. Wolverine is drinking the Great White North A, is what the can says on it. I'm assuming a type of beer. And then Harmony, we see Harmony back at the end there, getting a phone call. And unfortunately, it's a distress coming from Moira McTaggart, who is saying, she goes, I want you, Aurora, I want you and the others back to the island immediately. Collect Scott on the way. Professor Xavier has taken a turn for the worse. And again, if we remember from last issue, very frightening stuff with Professor X and what he's dealing with, pretty major. So I love that while this was a little bit of a filler in the sense of the grand scheme of things, it picks right back up with where we had left off even prior. And again, I don't even want to use that word filler because this was such a great issue on its own. But that's where we end. So, John, I'm going to pass it to you. What are your thoughts here on this final ending page, and how we get led off into kind of the next?
So as I mentioned, there's more to this vampiric storyline, and the annual number 6 that is Joel the Geek is going to join us for in say 6 or 8 weeks, continues a lot of these same storyline issues. There's also a really great what if storyline. It's called, I think, What If Wolverine Became Lord of the Vampires, where basically Storm changes Logan, and then what does that mean for the Marvel universe when the mutants all turn into vampires? Really great stuff. And I had read most of that before I read this as a kid, because this issue was not something I could have gotten my hands on back when I was a kid. And so I had read those other issues and really loved it, and then eventually came back and found the original story and was really enjoyed it. So it's been kind of fun to go back and now read it all in order and appreciate how this all sort of fits in between the Shi'ar brood kind of stuff. This is a really great trifecta of horror, Bill Sienkiewicz, and an Aurora focused issue. Like, there's so many things that this is going to check all the boxes for me as far as what I want from an X-Men comic.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I like Bobby says, dun, dun, dun.
Exactly.
Candis, what about you? What are your thoughts here on the ending here?
I thought it was really strong. Especially I feel like I would have expected them to end it at the last panel, because a lot of the endings have been kind of abrupt. So I really like that this actually had a really strong emotional ending.
Yes.
That just tied it up really nicely and showed Kitty and Storm's relationship once again. I thought that was just really, really strong, and just different vibe than some of the other issues have ended. So I really like that.
Totally. I also like that it's bright again and happy. The colors are back, and we notice now that the storm is over. See what I mean? All right. So before we get into the numbers here, I do want to give a final thought here at the end from everybody. How would you grade this issue? On our scale of 1 through a 9-8 or whatever. John, I'll ask you first.
The nostalgic John wants to give this a 9.6 and be like, this is just top flight. So I'm gonna stick with that and just roll that's
Yes.
I can't distinguish between the kid me that read the What If and read this book and was like, this is so cool, versus the me now who's able to be like, well, that face isn't very good, or this is kind of, I wish that was big. All those little things can definitely draw you away from it, but that it's a 9.6 for me.
Love it. Candis, what about you? Where would you grade this?
So I really had to think about this because I was kind of like seeing of how we've compared to like other issues and everything, but honestly, like this was definitely, well, actually, I pretty was sure I was gonna like this one a lot, which is why I picked it. Like I would say originally, like before the show, I was thinking 7.5, and now I'm thinking after talking about it, I was like, actually really liked it, so I might at least bump it to like an 8.
Love it.
I don't want to go too high, but yeah.
Sure.
I think,
No, it's totally.
I think overall, there's a lot of like really good like themes in it. Especially just because we were able to see that like really close relationship. Like I said earlier, it was like Storm and Kitty really like ran this issue, which I personally love. And I like that it
I think
was
all X-Men books are better when the female characters are running the show. Like it's just
yeah.
it's how the world in X-Men works.
Yeah, and I think I also liked this so much as, I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of the other issues, but I definitely like more of the fantastical horror stuff better than maybe like a sci-fi kind of thing where it captures my attention a lot more. So I really enjoyed that, and it was able to still like keep us within the timeline of everything where we're still like checking in with like Scott and we found out what happening with Professor X and everything, but then we're doing like something completely different that's still a lot of fun, but at the same time has like a lot of really strong themes. So overall still good. I mean, probably the only reason I'd give any lower is just because of Dracula in general as a character. I was like I've never read any Dracula before, so I was kind of curious like what he would be like. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like for the time that we're in, like for these comics, like it had the right amount of cringe, and it made me laugh how he would talk about himself in the third person too. I really liked that.
Yeah.
So he only drops the point just a little bit, but it was I like that that kind of makes it X-Men kind of comic too. It's just like where it's creepy, but then it has like that comedy to it. So yeah, really good.
Well said. Well, I have to say that John, man, I thought I was going to outdo you with my grade because I was going high here. I was aiming high. I thought you were going to give it between an 8.5 and a 9, and I was going to come in with the 9.6. So I'm here with the 9.6, and I'm going to echo Bobby in saying it's a 9.6 white pager for me. Ooh, and here's why. So I think this issue, and again, for the era that it's in, and this is everything I want from an X-Men book at this time period. It had the action, it had the beautiful artwork, the horror type vibes from time to time. It had the humor, the 6 beers, and everything else there. I was cracking up through a lot of this. There were a lot of comparisons to, some of the funnier things that we talked about here, like Airplane and the Mel Brooks movies and all that other stuff. So a tie into all that stuff. And then all at the same time, it was very heavy in terms of the delivery of the emotion, the delivery of the relationship building between Storm and Kitty, and just seeing their relationship grow. Like I just loved everything about this issue, and this for me is going to be something that I think I'm going to try to hunt down either a 9.8 or at least a very high beautiful grade, because I would like to have one for my collection. I think I own a copy that is a bit more of a reader copy, which is great and something I will certainly take time to flip through and reread. This might be like a yearly read for me. I know, like I talked to Kavi, he has a bunch of books that he has like yearly reads on, which I love the idea of that. And I think for me, this might be one that I revisit, and maybe around Halloween time.
Yeah,
I think
Halloween,
maybe this
fall,
just fits perfect.
Definitely a good one for that.
You mean this is not a good Thanksgiving one? This doesn't work. You got white meat and dark meat in the story.
True. It could go towards the winter holidays here too. Mentioned the Star of David and the crosses and everything else. Yeah. Hey, even we got Chet on board here with a 9 too. So very cool.
David made a great comment that this is an example of what they call a caesura, which is like a story that gives breathing room. What we would call a filler, right? An issue that would fit maybe in between a storyline.
Right.
We're getting a new writer on board, and they're going to do the next story arc. So we have a one-shot kind of story. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, good point. Hey, we got Krista in the chat. What is up, Krista? Thanks for hanging out. All right, we're getting to the end here. Let's just go over the numbers real quick. We'll get into our questions, and then we will wrap things up. Again, quick reminder, if you're not following Candis and John, make sure you do so. Put their information in the description below. But let's get into the numbers here. Key elements: Dracula appearance. Storm becomes a vampire. And Wolverine drinks a 6-pack of beer in record time. So definitely,
I don't know. That is it a record, or do the ladies take that long to get ready? And he's like,
we don't know.
Says it slowly.
It does use the word slowly.
Beers.
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible.
Maybe we say this is the issue where Wolverine shows some restraint to his drinking by managing only 6 beers.
Because that would be a rarity.
So maybe that's
CGC label
too. Money wise, there was nothing higher than a 9.8. There's 99 on the consensus of 9.8s, and the fair market value is about $300. Again, these are numbers that we take from Go Collect, and then of course it drops down pretty dramatically.
Look at that drop. Look at that drop.
Yeah, like
get
I would be
9.6, dude. Get a 9.6.
I would be very happy with a 9.6.
50. If I went to a con and I saw a 9.6 of this book for $50, I would buy it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And you know what too? Like, I mean, I get it because like this, the spine is completely black, so I can imagine that these books were probably well loved, meaning that they were read pretty often, as fun as this issue was. And 2, yes, the black spine being open and closed as often as it probably was. It might be hard to find raw books out there anyways right now that might come back as a 9.8. So but this is, I agree. I would snag the 9.6 for very a sixth of the price of a 9.8. That's a steal for sure. But yeah, for the cover, and Bobby is saying awesome cover. Yeah, for that too, would love to have a copy there. So see, Jackson Roy Kirk says my raw copy is a 4.0 at best. There you go. Chat also says this book is a horror story to find raw and untouched. Yeah, I can imagine. All right, that is it for the numbers. No, we're going a little past time here, but appreciate everybody who's been hanging out with us. Let's get into the questions. And again, so stick around. People who've been here right now, you know that we're going to ask 4 questions. We are looking for the correct answer twice. So if you see someone else beat you to it, you should still write it out anyways, because you can get your name up on the board on our list of names that we'll draw from a random wheel spin at the end of the season next year to determine our winners of
you made me want to get mine out just to see how bad it is.
Yeah,
it's got a couple of spine ticks. It's not like
ticks.
It's not like a 9.8, but it's nice. I mean, it's not all messed up.
Nice, very nice. Well, there it is. So we have giveaways at the end of the year, as we mentioned, coming up in June. I have some artwork coming up, still working with the artist right now. John has some mystery boxes, and we'll probably have a ton of other giveaways these past few years have been huge. So like I said,
that giveaway show is buck wild. So
yes.
If you are new to this program in any way,
exactly,
just get on the list. List. Boy Who Had 7 goes on their list one time, and he won a 9.8 slab, white page slab.
That's a good point.
He had one entry the very first year we did this, and he won a slab.
And
all it takes.
And some of the heavy hitters aren't here tonight, so this is a good opportunity for others in the chat here to get ahead of them. So
yes,
I will also remind you that we are looking for a funny answer, and so if you can put out a sarcastic or some sort of funny answer, and you can make Candis laugh here, you got to play to your judge. If you can make Candis laugh, then depending on which comment she chooses, that'll be the one that we choose for that question. So, John, I'm going to send it off to you for your first question. Tony says, chat, log off.
Chat, go check your router.
Yeah,
Krista, there's a lot of companies that grade your comics. CGC is the one that most people use, and the census data that I believe that Justin was using there is from the CGC census. But there's other companies, CBCS, PGX. There's other companies that do it as well. There's an Australian company that I just learned about this last year that's exclusive to people in that area.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm with you here, Roy Kirk. I'm a little concerned. You have to reach out. All right, John, what is your first question?
Okay, so last week we had the first half of what we saw with Cyclops and Havoc having a little, family reunion. My question is, when Cyclops and his dad burst in on Havoc and Lorna, what is Havoc doing? Last week we burst in on them, and what was it that Havoc was doing? This week they were blowing up rocks and being mean to each other.
Blowing up rocks.
What was Havoc doing last week? Yeah.
By the way, I'm still curious where we're going with that Corsair stuff.
I mean,
just curious.
Somewhere. We're going to the Greg Rucka Cyclops run, where he goes and takes over as a Starjammer and lives a space pirate life.
Oh,
I mean,
some answers.
Wolf, look how many words he was able to type, and Chet could just type one. I feel like giving Old Wolf double points.
Yeah, look at the detail there. Yeah, right. Yeah, we give Tony one.
There's no way your internet's that good. There's just no way. But yeah, Chet, I'll give you a point too.
Nice job. Tony and Chet are on the board as the first two. Still looking for some funny answers here. If you got something sarcastic.
Yeah, Joel says he was making sandwiches, which is an ongoing theme after Logan crashed the Blackbird because he was making a sandwich. And I say he crashed it because he kind of did. That's on him.
I feel bad for Storm. She had the bad end to that whole.
I mean, you get hit in the head with an adamantium skull. It's gonna hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
J Hood says Havoc was putting a bun in the oven. I mean, he was cooking.
Yeah.
He was belittling Scott by reminiscing about his step-parents. Oh, my step-parents were amazing. How were your? Oh, yeah. They were playing Parcheesi.
Brutal. There you go.
Chet simply saying Alex dinners. There it was. Oh, Bobby from Magic Lasso. Bobby says he was listening to Diana Ross on the cassette player.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you got to have that one in there.
He was cosplaying Ratatouille, which is actually a correct answer as well as being a funny answer.
That's a good one, Krista.
Putting on the stupid hats as well.
Candis, any of these here stand out to you as the funniest answer?
Yeah, I definitely had a bunch, but yeah.
If you had to pick one.
Krista got me with cosplaying Ratatouille.
All right, there you go.
I'm a Disney nerd, so I like that stuff.
Playing to your judge. You're playing to your judge, Krista. Yep.
But yeah, a lot of them indeed.
All right. So you got that one, John?
Yep.
All right. My first question here. Oh, let me pull that up here. Okay. First question is, how did Rogue take Wolverine's powers? What did she do in order to take Wolverine's powers in last issue? We had that whole run-in with Rogue at the Air Force base.
Mm-hmm.
Some interesting things went down, big fight scenes going down, and Rogue going at it with Wolverine, but somehow she had managed to take his powers as she does. What was it that she did in order to make that happen? I already see the two answers.
I do too.
So again, reminder, we're looking for funny ones, but yeah, the first one is Joel the Geek says kiss. Absolutely. She kissed him, and then Tony followed right behind. Said kiss him. So yes, Joel and Old Wolf, you guys are on the board for those. Couple other ones. Joel says nose boop. I mean, that would work technically.
Yeah,
I mean, she could take his
powers that way. Glove on, right?
Yeah,
Boop, I got your powers.
Nose boop is great.
I took your nose and your powers.
Stole his haircut.
Yeah, I saw that.
She totally did.
Yeah,
totally did.
It's accurate.
Very accurate.
Absolutely.
She stole his magic beer. Oh man, he would not appreciate that, I'm sure. If you take his beer. Krista said arm wrestled him. Yeah. She could definitely take him out that way. She hit him with a frying pan.
Tangled. We saw that at the beginning of the night. That's a throwback joke.
Yes. There it is. She put a bun in his oven. Nice repetition of answers here.
See this? That's a callback. Well done.
Chet says she dipped him, then took powers. Truthful and funny. She dipped him and then took powers. Like maybe like brought him down for
yeah. Like a deep lean,
What do you call it? Like
Yeah.
It's dipping. Nice move.
Totally. Candis, any funny ones there that stand out to you as the number one?
I think still his haircut, because I saw that in the chat earlier. And I was like, I already started laughing.
Nice. There it is, Bobby.
That's too accurate.
Nice job. It totally is accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the way Rogue was being drawn at that time.
Oh my god, that was crazy.
Yeah. All right, John. What's your second question here?
My second one is later in the episode or the issue. Sorry, they were watching television, and somebody was on TV bashing mutants. Who was it on TV crapping on mutants?
Yeah, this is a good one. I like that.
I don't even think I remember that.
It's pivotal, if only because this character is constantly on TV bashing mutants, and you will see this character repeatedly appear to do such a thing,
and it builds up with the whole back and forth with humans versus mutants and all that crazy ordeal.
Old Wolf has the internet rock solid tonight.
There it is.
And Chet,
I remember
that's the most I've ever seen Chet write and
oh my god,
perfectly.
Wow.
Did he copy paste? He must have copied
letters.
He Googled. He must have Googled.
He's got capital letters going there. He's got the I before E in interview.
Yeah, wow.
I don't even know.
The I before E.
Chat.
Interview.
I'm impressed, my man. I'm impressed. So good. Boom there. And boom there.
Wow.
Yikes.
Oh, he didn't add a period, but yeah. Let's not praise him too much now. He didn't add any punctuation at the end. But all right. So Chet and Tony on the board for that. We are looking for a funny one. Let's see if we have some funny ones here. Bobby saying Gary Coleman. He said, "What you talk about, Wolverine?" What you talking about, Wolverine? Yeah, Chet says never Google.
Don't Google.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Kermit the Frog.
Kermit would never bash mutants.
Yeah.
Come on,
bashing mutants here.
Don't be bad mouthing my man.
Jackson Roy Kirk says Chet copied from the Cliff Notes. Love it. No, this guy not even highlighting that. Chet, get out of here with that. Mikey, he hates everything.
He does. It was Mikey. Blame Mikey.
And semi-pro.
Semi-pro. You watching Will Ferrell movies?
Oh, maybe. Candis, which one here stands out to you the most?
I'm honestly looking at more of the comments of that's interesting.
I'll go back
I know that's hard.
Not a lot of good. I know, because
honestly, I thought the funniest thing that wasn't even related was the Chet copied from the Cliff Notes.
We could throw it in.
You could do it.
Yeah,
you could
totally
do it.
Yeah.
Jackson.
See, boom.
There you go.
Roy Kirk. Well
Make
done,
fun of Chet. Oftentimes you win on this show.
That's very true. He meant Super Pro. Joel. That's good.
Taking a shot at Greg. I like. Kudos for that, Joel.
All right, I got one last question here for the night. What did Alex Summers' apron say? Alex Summers was, as he was cooking, he's wearing an apron. What was written on his apron? Plain and simple.
I did not remember this one.
Yeah, a lot of good answers, a lot of good potential here for humor as well. But to go off of John mentioning, that he was cooking, what was it that he had on his apron? I already see the answer here. Chet said, Candis, I thought we was peeps.
You guys just didn't give me enough to work with.
Tony said the chef, that's correct. And Chet also said chef, that is correct. So Tony and Chet on the board for the fourth question there. See everyone else right behind. Albert, you were close, man. You were close. I like the kiss.
Oh my God.
Let's see.
Both of them are so good.
Yeah.
So it says, Bobby says, kiss the mutant on his apron.
Yeah.
And I got Bobby, oh man, really playing into tonight. So that's so good.
Bobby's got it.
I am sorry. I'm a PhD candidate, not a chef.
You can still like cooking to relax. There's some people that do it just to relax, right?
It says, I'm with Foxy, is what the apron said.
He kind of is.
Howard says the apron said, please, Scott, come in and ruin my day. I like redheads too.
He likes greenheads. We know this.
Greenhead.
Yeah.
Although later, yeah, he does have Moira. Sorry, Madeline prior.
Oh, spoiler. Putting one in the oven.
Keep going with that.
Some really great humor here tonight, guys. Let's see. Chet says, Alistair said, Mr. Steal Your Girl a few years before the closet door opened for Bobby Drake. Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. All right, Candis, any of those have your favorite or your funniest?
Definitely. I mean, he had two good ones. So definitely from Bobby. Kiss the Mutant and I Got Step Parents. They're both really good. I don't know which one I like better, honestly.
It doesn't matter. He's a winner either way.
I know.
Yeah. Bobby on the board. You guys all rocked in the chat. So good tonight. I was cracking up. Yeah, the parents, the consistency in the jokes too. Well done. There it is. There's the show. Appreciate everybody that's hanging. Candis, thank you so much for joining us. I am so pumped that you're on this journey with us, reading along with the Omni X-Men stuff. So I hope you're enjoying, everything that we're going through, and I appreciate you taking your time to be with us.
Yeah, it's been so fun.
Very cool. Again, for people watching, if you are not already following Candis over on Instagram, make sure you do so. I put the information in the description below. Candis, a familiar face, as she's been on this channel plenty of times, but first time for the Omni X-Men. So really excited that you were here.
And the big bonus for you is you got off of Chet's Christmas list. So now you're off his. You don't need to worry about Chet anymore. Apparently he says you're off the list.
Doesn't got to do. He says you're off.
He doesn't know how to spell off, but he got everything else really well.
Candis, before we go, is there anything you want to highlight or let the people know about in terms of anything that you have coming up or that you'd want them to know?
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything going on.
Okay. Future Lego builds, right?
Yes, please. I gotta finish my Harry Potter builds. I've just been waiting to finish them.
That's a good point.
You have more patience than me.
I've jumped back into my Harry Potter book, by the way, so we'll have to catch up a little bit because I took a little hiatus on it as I went into some other books. So yeah, trying to carve out more time. So past couple of days I've been back in it, so it's good. But yeah, so awesome. So there you have it. Make sure you guys are sub up to John as well. We'll be over there next Tuesday. John, anything to highlight here before we wrap it up?
No, I dropped an edited video for the first time in a long time about a week ago. So if you have missed it and you want to get back over there, a lot of you did, because I think it only got 50 something views. So it's people are like, wait, this guy doesn't make edited videos anymore. I did. It happened.
Johnny putting in work. All right.
Get over there. But other than that, no, I don't think I have anything really big coming up. I think you and I are going to blame Fable on Saturday.
Yes, can't wait.
So if you're following one collection down over on Instagram, Saturday, this Jamoke and I are going to be joining him to talk funny books.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be on Instagram, 1:00 for about an hour or so. Looking forward to hanging out with Fable. We love him. We've had him on the show. I know we have him scheduled again to come on with us. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I think just in a couple of weeks he's going to be here.
Yeah. So be ready. We'll be breaking down 160 next over on John's channel. Make sure you guys smash that like button on the way out. And that's it. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.